It's another thing to say, you really need to sit down and have a conversation with this employee, but I'm going to help you do that. I'm going to help you figure out what to say and the best way to say it.
Hi, it's John Bernatovich, your host of the HR Like a Boss podcast. Welcome to season 3. I've embarked on a journey to get to know amazingly awesome HR and business professionals with the hope of finding what it takes to do HR like a boss. If you like the show, please like, subscribe, and share with a friend. On today's show, I'm super excited to be joined by Julie Sumner. Julie is one of the upcoming speakers at the NOHRC conference on May 24th as we continue on our NOHRC series on the HR Like a Boss podcast. So Julie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
How would you describe the purpose of human resources?
The most successful HR professionals that I have seen are the ones who act as advisors. So a lot of times HR kind of gets pinned into the role of telling people what they can and cannot do. And for the most part, that doesn't work very well because people don't like to be told what they can and cannot do. So I have seen it be successful, and this is what I try to do. I act as a trusted advisor. So my goal is to figure out what the company or the employer wants to happen. And if I can get there, if I can show them how to get there, we'll do that. If not, then at least I can give them as much information as possible so they're making the most informed decision they can be. But it's still their decision. In HR, we act as advisors. It's our job to manage risk, yes. But sometimes all we can do is advise about the various risks, or again, what we think would be the best route, and then hope that they take our advice.
Tell me about what your presentation is all about. Let's get people excited about coming to the May 24th session at NOHRC.
Absolutely. So my presentation is about people forgetting how to human. So this is a phrase that I've come up with post-COVID. As people started coming back to the offices, I was getting a lot of calls from employers just about like, we have these situations between these employees, we can't figure out how to handle it, people can't seem to get along, there's big divides in the office, it's a toxic workplace, variations of those types of comments. And a lot of it seems to be because people have just forgotten how to interact with one another. The pandemic was rough on everybody, that's for sure, but it really seems like we've forgotten how to talk to each other. And in many ways, I think that HR and certainly my industry, the legal field, have made that harder in the workplace because we have taught people that instead of talking to your coworkers about something they may have done that didn't sit well with you, you should run to HR and report it. And then HR will talk to everybody or do an investigation and, try to figure out what happened and figure out who was at fault and, take care of things. And I think now there are absolutely times where that has to happen, right? There are certain things, sexual harassment, discrimination, anything that could potentially violate the law, where HR definitely needs to get involved, and those types of investigations need to happen. But this everyday stuff where people just get really irritated with each other, or they're passive aggressive, or they've, took something the wrong way and then they never talk about it, but they never deal with it either. So then it just becomes this festering sore that eventually blows up. And so I call that people forgetting how to human. And so my talk is all about how do we help people remember that? How do we create a culture of communication where we teach employees that the first step is to just go talk to people, to do a perspective check, to say to the other person, hey, you know what, when you said this, this is the way I took it, and that may not have been the way you meant it. So I wanted to clear it up right away. And we've all forgotten how to do that. So I give some tips and tricks about how to remind people, and also some ways that HR professionals can help create that sort of culture.
How do you think human resources, I'm sure maybe at your presentation you'll talk about this, how can human resources do a better job of preparing those managers and supporting them as it relates to those potential issues that may come up at work?
I think one of the most important things is HR has to realize that not everybody knows how to do this. people who are in HR tend to be people, right? We tend to be a little bit better at relating to others than some other folks do. And so it's not always a skill set that people have or that they're comfortable using. So we have to actually teach people how to do it. So I think one of the most effective things that HR can do is offer to be there with that person. So they may need to sit in on some conversations. They may need to help a manager prep for a conversation. I have role played with managers all the time. Like, okay, pretend I'm the employee, talk to me, and we'll talk about how the best way to get your message across so that it's clear and that you guys can move forward. So I think part of it is just being that partner to let them know they're not alone, because it's one thing to tell somebody you really need to sit down and have a conversation with this employee. It's another thing to say, you really need to sit down and have a conversation with this employee, but I'm going to help you do that. I'm going to help you figure out what to say and the best way to say it.
Now, let's consider this. Obviously, we have Julie on the show because of the upcoming NOHRC series, and I'm excited about giving a quick plug in the middle of our show for NOHRC 2023. And we hope that you will join Julie and her session at NOHRC HR Hit the Reset Speaker Series on May 18th and May 24th. Hear from industry experts on the latest HR trends and strategies, like you'll hear from Julie on May 24th. Don't miss on this opportunity to network and elevate your career at the HR NOHRC conference. And you can register at clevelandshrm.com. That's Cleveland, SHRM.com. And for those that are attending on May 24th, not only can you see Julie's awesome presentation, but I hope that you'll stop by our live HR Like a Boss recording booth and tell us how you do amazingly awesome HR. How would you describe someone that does HR like a boss?
Somebody who is confident in their knowledge and their expertise, who is a trusted partner, and somebody who develops those relationships and those connections so that those partnerships really mean something and you can do really cool things with them.
Thank you so much, Julie, for being on the show. It was awesome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to the HR Like a Boss podcast. If it resonates with you, please leave a rating or review, or better yet, subscribe and share with a friend. Until next time, let's continue to aspire to do amazingly awesome HR.